Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Dual Screens podcast, sponsored by MeltedPins.com. I am one of your hosts, Stephen Fontana, and with me, as always, he is my partner in pretty much everything podcasting and DualScreens.com. He is Andy Asimakis. How are you, Andy?
We're putting the dual in Dual Screens, not by accident, not on purpose, I should say, because we've had two guests on the show with games that feature some sort of versing, friendship-ruining aspect to it. Today is no different in that regard. It's not on purpose. I swear to all you listeners out there, it just happens to be that way. And I think we just got to power through and just have the show be about games that ruin friendships and relationships in general.
I mean, 'tis the season, Andy.
Right.
'Tis the season.
Right.
Joining us this week's guests, or should we say guests, are Ahmed and Khalil Abdullah. They are the co-founders of Decoy Games and are currently developing Swimsanity. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us. Excited to be here.
What is up, y'all?
We are very excited to have you here. Your game is slowly, actually, it's quickly getting a lot of recognition out there in the indie game scene. I believe you guys were even on the Kind of Funny Games showcase the last time they did one of those, which was kind of blowing our mind a little bit as well. So congratulations on that. But real quickly, we're just going to do some of the rigmarole for our listeners out there. For those of you that are new to the Dual Screens podcast, this is an interview show where Andy and I bring on industry guests to tell us their story and whatever fun project they might be currently working on. Because honestly, we want to hear about the games that we love, and we want to hear about the people that make them, and we want to give them a platform to tell you all about the games that we love. We post each and every Thursday for your listening pleasure on your podcast service of choice, including YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. And of course, you can find all of our content on DuelScreens.com. That's dual like fighting, DUEL screens.com. Please, if you are an Apple Podcast listener, please consider leaving us a review because it helps the show out tremendously. If you want to support us with your hard-earned cash, there are a couple of ways you can do so, but the biggest one is to go to patreon.com/NDS podcast, just like our Patreon producer, Alex Gonzalez. He is the demigod, Alex Gonzalez. That Mortal Kombat 11 ladder is no match for Alex. He's climbing the ranks. Alex, we cannot continue to grow without your support and everybody's support. So please head over to patreon.com/NDS podcast, and as little as $1 gets you access to our VIP Discord channel where you can hang out with us, our indie game dev guests that have Discord, and each other. It's a really cool community. Also, just tell your friends, spread the word. Those are other ways you can help us out tremendously. All right, so let's just dive right in here. So, as I mentioned, we have a pair of brothers here that are the co-founders of Decoy Games, and they are working on this awesome, hectic-looking, I would say, what is it? Cooperative, competitive couch multiplayer insanity. Would that be?
We call it a 4-player underwater shooter.
A 4-player underwater shooter called Swimsanity. All right, gentlemen. So why don't you give us the sort of the elevator pitch? Tell us a little bit about what Swimsanity is and what it's like playing the game.
Sure, yeah.
Start there.
So like Swimsanity, it's a 4-player underwater shooter with competitive and cooperative game modes where you can play with or against your friends. We have a full suite of really cool, engaging multiplayer modes. We have 5 competitive modes, which range from your standard free-for-all to team deathmatch. We have capture the flag, both free-for-all and team, and also an elimination mode. And on the flip side of that, we also have your cooperative modes. We have a full-blown campaign. We have an adventure mode. We have a survival mode, and we also have another challenge mode as well on that side. We're going to be on all consoles and PC with online and local play. You can play with bots if you want to as well. There's over 300 challenges in the game. So we have a lot of stuff here for you. And basically you play this underwater aquatic hero called Amuba, who is equipped with a ton of different really cool weapons. And you have these things called unleashes, which allow you to unleash some sanity, which gives you one of many different huge power moves, which can completely change the tide of the battle. And as I said before, you can use these either when you're playing versus against competitors and friends, or you can team up together and use them for a common goal.
Jeez, you packed the hell out of this.
That's a lot for an elevator pitch.
That's my that's my pitch. That's my thing.
That was like an elevator to the Empire State Building.
I was just at what was it, 4 World Trade Center, all the way up on the 43rd floor, and I don't think you could have got that in that ride. So let's talk about. I mean, all right, Swimsanity is one thing, and I'm sure we're gonna get to more of the details of that. But I work with my brother as well, and I know what that can be like. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about that. So you guys co-founded Decoy Games. Can you talk about how and when that started?
Yeah. So really, I could say it really started when we were young, just playing a lot of games. But we've always got into making our own creations, as we really weren't able to. Well, we weren't allowed to play games during the week because our parents said don't play games while school's going on. So we found
There's
a way.
No future in games, guys.
Yeah, we found a way to try to like make our own almost. So, but we didn't really know we were really paper prototyping. But we always had an interest in design. But it was really right out of college. Khalil started taking some classes where we do like flash games, and I kind of followed him in that. But when we really wanted to get into this, our focus was completely on consoles. Like we wanted to be able to make a console game, and we didn't really know what it meant to be a developer. To be completely honest with you, back then, like what is a developer? You go to like the PlayStation website, it's like professional developers only. What does that mean? Do I get a badge? Like we didn't know what that meant. So it was a journey just trying to discover what it meant to break into the industry and create our own path. So it's a lot of different obstacles there. But as we kind of made more networking, went to events, showcased the game, we just started seeing that, whoa, this is what it's all about. And people kind of looked at us as developers, and now we're kind of here where we are.
Did you guys find it easier because you were brothers, or did you have any conflict in that relationship as a working thing?
I think being brothers allows us to have a trust factor. It's not to say that, we never have disagreements or, we never see things different ways, but what it allows us to have is a trust factor where we know each other as well as one human can know another human, but then also when it comes to the game, right, we can actually bring our passion to the table. We know what buttons we can and can't press. We also know that at the end of the day, regardless of what we go through, that we're going to be there for each other, around each other. Just because, like I said, he's my brother. He's not even if he wants to go somewhere, he can't get away. So, but yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, I think the trust factor is huge for us. If you talk to other indies, especially a lot of solo devs who are looking to join a team, one of the hardest things for them to do is to find somebody that they trust, that they can work with, that they can share their ideas with. Shit.
That's crazy that you're saying that, because we just finished an interview which is going up tomorrow as of this recording, with a solo dev whose main issue is that he wants to do everything himself because he just can't find somebody that he trusts.
It's tough. And I mean, trust isn't always, whether or not someone is lying to you, right? Sometimes trust is, if I give you work to do, will you get it done on time? Are you locked into this as much as I'm locked in, or do you have other goals and aspirations on your mind, right? So trust is a lot of different things. And like I said, it's definitely a blessing that I have my brother here and we have that trust value, because now with that there, we can focus on things that matter. Like, how do we make Swimsanity as fun as possible, or any other projects that we have?
When you were kids, you said that you guys were always creating. How and what did you create as kids?
So we literally had, as you said before, like we weren't allowed to play games during the week. So what we would do is we made like an entire world where we both owned our own fake individual gaming companies. I swear this is not a joke. We had our own individual gaming companies back then before we even had any of this planned. And what we do is we try to compete with each other to put each other out of business. So like we would make games out of paper, and like we would literally, like I'd make an adventure game out of paper, then he'd make like a fighting game out of paper, and then we'd sell it to each other with fake Monopoly money, and we'd play it. And, we'd give each other reviews in like magazines, and we had this whole complex thing. We had mailboxes in our house for like to get our fake business mail to each other.
Our family looked at us like,
what the hell is going on in that house?
Yeah, like literally, we had this whole thing lined up.
We're imaginary.
That's incredible.
That's how we held it. That's how we held our like gaming thirst until we got to the weekend to actually play real games again. But the funny thing is, like, while we were doing that, we started to develop this like creativity that would build into what we're doing today, of a lot of just kind of like weird game mechanics and stuff like that we get from like paper prototyping, to where something that was like a kind of a childish hobby became a passion and then became a career. So it's pretty cool.
Andy, you used to make Mega Man levels, right? You used to draw Mega Man levels.
My brother and I used to do little sketches, but we had zero ambition, so that went nowhere, apparently. This is it for me, is doing a podcast about video games. I can't create.
Hey, it's all cool.
What do your parents feel about this? Because I get a sense, like, for most parents, if one's a lawyer or a doctor, then one could be like a musician or a comedian. But it's like, oh, they're both game developers. So what's that like for them?
Yeah, I think at first it was probably hard. It was hard for them to understand exactly what we were doing. And as I said, we used to like play games and kind of prototype games being younger. So then when you're older, took them a while to see the transition for it to be something real. But it really started hitting them once we started going to like PAX East. I remember when my dad went to PAX East, kind of saw like how people were reacting to it. That kind of showed this is really something that, this is an industry of what we do. But, they support us on like anything we do. And we went to UMass for computer science. So this was a good transition to kind of have our comp sci background into gaming, but they're very supportive. And now they're pretty full understanding of it. Like my mom's like a techie, so she likes to play games as well. We try to get her in front of the controllers when we can. But they're understanding of it and really supportive.
And I think definitely, given like the fact that the older generation even now is still kind of starting to understand how big gaming is. Add that to the fact that indie gaming is still genuinely new and like really fast growing. I think a lot of that just kind of caused a lot of just like, oh wow, what is this? But as I said before, like I think definitely like fast forward to today, super supportive, always awesome, always in our corner. My dad's always been a bit of an entrepreneur, so even on that side, he's definitely really supportive. So yeah, they're definitely awesome.
My mom hasn't seen like the game live yet, so she's actually going to see it for the first time this Saturday.
Yeah, that's just really cool.
That's awesome.
You hear that, Mom? You stole my dreams.
Yeah. So don't get beat by my mom this weekend. That is the goal for everyone.
Yeah, I mean it's a crazy thing when you think about how gaming, I think it was just last year, made more money than movies and music combined.
Yep.
And that's just insanity. That's just and explaining that to it's Swimsanity. You're swimming in that coin. You're Scrooge McDucking it over there. But it on top of it being the most lucrative, I guess you could say, it's also arguably the most volatile. And I can understand maybe parents being a little bit wary of the ups and downs of game development, especially if they don't really know where your role in it is as an indie developer, as people who founded your own studio. Can you explain what not only going into games is like for your, explaining that to your parents, but also doing it yourself? I can't imagine that's an easy sell.
Yeah, I mean, I think even in indie gaming, even if you take my parents out of it, I feel like even a lot of developers don't understand what being an indie gamer is in a lot of ways. So I think that, even today, we're still kind of explaining things a bit. Getting into the game world, I don't think that was as much of a surprise. I think being able to handle being developers while also running a business at the same time, there's definitely a lot of a learning curve on both sides. Managing schedules, managing the game, managing your customer base, managing deadlines. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it outside of just being a developer. And I think as we matured as a studio, it was a lot of just learning how to juggle all those different areas and responsibilities. So there's definitely been a big learning curve of just really understanding what it means to be an indie studio versus just being hey, I'm just a developer who makes games. And there's definitely a jump in responsibility on that side.
Yeah, we were really going into this. One of our big goals was to be a self-publisher. So, and as I said before, we wanted to get on consoles, and we knew that was a really big hurdle to really jump over. And it took a time. Like, we had to build those relationships ourselves. And once we did, though, it was really there's so much greatness came out of it because we really met great people within Microsoft, Nintendo, Sony, and now that we built these relationships, now especially once we're able to release some Sanity, we're still already looking forward to our next title and things coming in the future because we learned so much now what it takes to be a self-publisher and what it takes to build those relationships, and something we enjoy equally as much as the development itself.
How did you guys go about building Decoy Games? Like, what was the path that led you on there, and what was it like to actually start recruiting like a proper team to make this game of yours a reality?
Yeah, so I always, even when I went to school for computer science, I always wanted to get into gaming. I just wasn't really sure what the path was to becoming a developer. Indie development specifically was something that kind of started becoming big towards like my senior year. I think like Castle Crashers was one of the big titles that came out back then. Shovel Knight was another one. There were some other kind of small ones that were brewing, but it wasn't huge when I was a freshman. So when I started going to school, my full intention was like, I'm gonna eventually work for like a AAA company and make help be on a bigger team. Once I saw the possibility to release our own games, because I was like messing with my own projects from school, and we saw that we were getting a lot of good feedback, we kind of changed our focus to say, all right, let's see how far we can take this and gather, customer, excitement and stuff like that, and see if we can go to market on our own. That's kind of where we got into gaming from there. And I'd say from there, it was like a lot of iterations and trial and error. I know a lot of people are just seeing us over the past couple of years, but this is like a process that went on for like a solid 9 years of us just kind of growing and learning and, starting over and seeing one area where we didn't like the game. And, like I said, we've been kind of going through this for a while, just learning, right? Not like in a bad way, like we kept hitting the walls, but just a lot of learning and maturing as a studio. So yeah, that's kind of where we started to getting into indie gaming.
And to go into like a little detail, the first like taste we got of console development was when they had the Xbox Live Indies, I believe it was called, back 360. It was a framework called XNA. And it was something where I think you really just had to pay like $100 to get on the framework, and then you could deploy to Xbox. And that's where we started doing development there. And I don't even know if we ever got to the point where our build was going to Xbox 360, but we started doing that and came up with a build where we were able to bring to small showcases. And that's where we had an opportunity to get like our first recognition and people going to small show, I believe like Boston Festival of Indies, where we started meeting people that allow us to take the next step and then trying to get more attention to land those contracts to be able to be on consoles. So that was like our first opening door of that. And it's different today. Now with, get the game engines like Unity that are free, you really can build something pretty impressive and get eyes on it with all the internet forums you can throw out there. But it was definitely, the opportunities were a little less then, but that was where we entered the industry for us.
So when you started the studio, did you always have a roadmap for this, for like where you are now, or was it kind of, were you playing it by ear as you were growing and learning?
We always knew the end game of what we wanted Swimsanity to be, and what really drove us is that we knew we would never stop until we got to the end goal, and we also knew we wouldn't take the shortcut of just being like, good enough. So the game that everyone sees today, I can honestly tell you that was the game that we wanted to make 9 years ago, even when our skills weren't quite there. And like I said, over a lot of like trial and error and just getting better. This is literally the game that where if I could have snapped my fingers and been like, here's Swimsanity, this is the game that we wanted to release.
Wow. So it was always this game. So where did this game come from? What was the genesis of the idea of the concept behind it?
So this game started as a school project, basically for a midterm. By the way, so I took computer science. I always wanted to make games, but I couldn't find any like game development classes at the school that I was at until my very last year. I found one of those random, like only 9 people in the class were taking it, Flash development class. So when I took it, I was excited. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna finally get to learn how to make a game. And I made my first game back then called Swimsanity, the adventures of Mooba Jiver, the scuba diver. And it was kind of just like, it was kind of this.
Let's not jump past that.
That was the name of the game.
Let's digest that and maybe say it a little slower for the people in the back.
The adventures of Mooba Jiver, the scuba diver.
Wow.
And it was a hyper casual game where basically you play the scuba diver, you try to get down to the bottom of the ocean and grab gold and bring it back up to a ship. And meanwhile, there's a bunch of like sea creatures that would try to stop him. It's actually based off of a Nintendo game called Octopus, where Mario would try to get down to the bottom of the ocean, do the similar thing, but there's just one big octopus off Game & Watch Gallery for our 80s and 90s folks out there. So I made this game in college, and kids in my class would play it. And then sometimes I'd come into class and they'd be playing my game when I'm not even there. And that was like my first like kind of feeling of, that's interesting. So for my final, we had an opportunity to make another game. So I made Swimsanity 2, Deep Sea Jivers. And this one I made 2-player. Yeah, they didn't allow me to carry my name making skills into the game. Wow. So this one,
art either, too.
Yeah, my art was pretty horrible.
That's a shame. That's really a shame, though.
So yeah, this game was 2-player. I added like multiplayer aspect, and people loved this even more on campus. And then when Ahmed started to see that, he's like, "Yo, let's go full on with this. Let's bring this. Let's see if we can get this to consoles."
Yeah, and that's when we brought it to consoles, we wanted to make something that was like Bomberman was a big game we played when we were young. We're growing up and still play now, really. Power Stone, like these party games that we felt that you kind of could just jump in and have a lot of experience there. And when we went to consoles, we even knew then we wanted to make an online game, even though we had no idea really how that would all work on consoles. But that's when the idea kind of came together that we knew there'd be a versus mode, and we knew that there'd be like a co-op experience. And we just didn't really know how to. It's funny, over the years, you just kind of learned more about just game theory, whether it's the right controls, the right UI, UX. That's what grew over the years. But we had the vision the whole time, but learning what colors made sense, how to have a game be as hectic as our game, but also be understanding and easy to follow at the same time. That's where it took so many years to kind of just have the over and over. We just don't want to rush that process. And as we kind of kept going, it was really like a year ago where we were like, yeah, this is definitely what we want it to be. And that process was a pretty cool journey.
So who does what?
So I do all the work and they just watch me type and code all day. No, I'm kidding. So basically, if I were like specific roles, me and my brother are both lead developers. Chris, who isn't on the podcast now, does all the art. But I mean, we wear a lot of different hats on the team. So I mean, Ahmed even helps out with the animation sometimes. I do a lot of the physics. As we said before, we do all our own marketing and publishing. So anytime you even see us at a show and you see like a backdrop, we did that. We had to do all the printing and stuff like that. So there's nothing that you see as a product from us, whether it's in the game or outside the game, that's not done by us. But yeah, we do a lot of crossovers of roles and stuff.
Yeah, everything, especially at game development, like me and Khalil, we try to make sure that we can jump across in roles. Physics is like the one thing I'm just terrible at physics. So I'm like, anything physics-wise, I give to Khalil.
He's just saying that because like when the game comes out, if anything goes wrong physics-wise, so you can be like, oh,
toss under the bus.
Physics are great in the game. So that's his thing. And I have more of the UX side. So like if it's menus or visual and it has game coding in it, that I used to take over. But everything else, like we try to make sure both of us can jump in and work with each other on or whatever. So yeah, we do. There's a lot to do to get it done.
I've actually met Chris at the Play NYC event that was earlier this year.
Yes.
He's such a sweet guy.
Yeah, he's
and
awesome.
It was my first time playing the game, and first the visuals kind of draw you in, But then when I actually sat down and played it for the first time, that gameplay is so addictive. Those unleashes you were talking about earlier with the shark is my favorite.
Yeah, yeah. Shark's
that's a
definitely a
fan
fan favorite for sure.
Ever.
Chris is
Ever.
he's really he's so good with colors. That's always been his thing, and he's kind of a sneakerhead. Sorry, and he kind of used that passion of what colors go well with sneaker waves and brought it into the game. I always felt like his color palette, the way he's able to bring that out, has always been his best talent, and you can really see it in Swimsanity.
There's like these massive screen filling bosses too in the game. Now, does Chris take direction from you? Like, okay, I want to have a giant sea turtle here, and he just kind of designs, or does he have a free reign when it comes to what he wants for those parts of the game? How does that work out with
I mean, we typically throw some crazy ideas out there, and we know that he can bring it to like visual fruition. So and that allows him to basically like come up with something like, for example, we had a level where we knew it was going to be a swamp level. And we came up with the fact that, like maybe a turtle would be like a tortoise or something would be kind of a cool boss. And at that point, Chris kind of just takes that and now brings like this character. It's like, I'm going to come up with this like dopey looking turtle that has these like teeth that kind of come out of nowhere, and he trolls you the whole time. And he wants the whole thing to make it almost be like he's just a guy that just annoys you the whole thing. And he just takes like your words and brings it to these visuals. So we bounce ideas off each other. We always like have these moments in the game. We always go back where we all kind of came up with something that was like, yeah, that was a game changer if we didn't come up with that. But a lot of times we have like these meetings between all three of us just to see different ways to take the game. So it's pretty organic with the way we come up with things. And now that we kind of understand the basis and foundation what Swimsanity is, like it's become pretty easy now to like come up with like new game modes to build on the foundation. And that's once you kind of pass that hurdle, everyone kind of knows what we can bring into it. So it's not even much conversation needed to come up with these new ideas.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lobster with a laser gun in its mouth. That's kind of all, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
This looks like it could have it like a spin-off Adult Swim cartoon.
Hey, I'd love to get a cartoon. Anybody listening out there?
Yeah, no, for real.
Hell yeah.
Love that.
Make it happen, listeners. Somebody out there's got to be listening. So somebody, hello?
Mom, are you there?
There you go.
So I mean, we're getting pretty close to release for this thing, right? If I remember, when's the plans to release this thing?
Yeah, we're getting very close. We're gonna have a test beta coming out before release, and we'll be talking about when that will drop very soon. Maybe even as close as this weekend. So stay tuned this weekend.
Cool.
For more information
Awesome.
about that. And then in the coming weeks, we'll be letting everyone know, when they can get their hands on the game.
So generally speaking, when you do a beta, what are you guys looking for? What information are you looking to gather from a public beta?
I think there's two sides to a beta, right? Like, you definitely obviously want people to have fun, right? Like, it would suck to have people play the game like, okay, this is trash, I'm done with it. So you definitely want people to have fun. But I think the funny thing is, more importantly, you want people to also just find everything that they're not having fun with. Like, I want to know all the bugs. I want to know all the things that need improvement, while you're having fun in a weird way. But for us, the priority is definitely while all the like, hey, the game's real fun is great. What we're always listening out for is, like things that didn't work, things that are in balance. We're looking for improvements as developers, while at the same time giving the people who want to play Swimsanity a chance to try it out for free.
Yeah, we're a team of three, so like we can't even hold proper 4-player matches, which should be standard.
Right.
It's true. It's one of the things that you kind of have to fight as an indie. It's like, so when we did this back in February, we had our early beta, and the day that we released it, like the amount of bugs that came in, like they couldn't even play it. But it was like we didn't even have the capacity to test it, and it was within like 40 hours of working with people on our Discord and fixing things, and then the game just kind of ran smoothly. And it's really helpful to have people kind of come in and that are just willing to, play a game that's kind of beneficial on both sides. And we want to run one more to make sure, we don't want to release a game day one that's like completely, unplayable and broken. And we want to make sure that they can find the bugs and find the kind of the issues that would make the game not be enjoyable. And we'll always improve it week by week. But yeah, we're definitely looking to make sure the game's stable right after this test beta.
Yes, the don't be BioWare doctrine. I've heard much about it.
Yeah, it's Fallout.
Yes.
Guy.
I think that's an interesting conversation to have because a larger company, even huge companies, are using the word beta and alpha and whatever, and I think the words are starting to lose all meaning at this point.
Agreed.
It's anything in the tech world.
Yeah, because there is a word for what you're looking for, and what a lot of devs, even the big ones, are looking for, and it's QA testing, and a small studio like you guys can't afford to hire studios, or rows and rows of people to sit down and play your game and log all the bugs and all this stuff, and you see it all the time. My Discord is probably has 30 game studios where they have a chat in there that is specifically for bug reporting.
Right.
And it's like you're kind of crowdsourcing your QA, and you're getting it in like a real time, and you're getting it from people who might not necessarily be looking for these problems, so they might actually be better to communicate those problems to you because they're not looking to nitpick. They may just be like, "Hey, this game's really great, but for some reason I can't make this jump." And then you can be like, "What do you mean? Why can't you make that jump?" And you guys, "Oh shit, that sucks. That's broken. Let me fix that." That kind of thing.
Well, you say, first of all, do you work for Polygon? And then you move on and say, okay.
Right. First, you have to preface that. You always have to look out for that Polygon. They'll get you. Keep things androgynous out there. What do you think about that? What do you think about the bigger companies going out there saying that something is a alpha or a beta, and it's clearly just them trying to figure out if they're, essentially get free QA testing, in some places charging for beta access to see if something's broken or if something will work. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm pretty frustrated by the direction it's going. Obviously, there's a business part of it too, and even ourselves too. Like we have to, when we were kind of getting closer and closer to release, we had to smarten up a bit. It's like, all right, we can't fix all of these before release, but we have to make sure there's a common ground of what we can do and what quality we can make sure there's out there. But man, I just feel like, and you brought it up earlier with like Fallout, and they've been to be honest, in my opinion, that company's been getting away with this for a long time. Like I never felt like those games were necessarily stable anytime they came out right away. But if they keep getting away with it and people keep buying, then yeah, they're going to keep doing it. So it's not until really putting pressure on them to stop doing that. Now, some games haven't gotten away with it. Definitely ones out there that suffer for it, like Anthem, and then you start hearing stories of how that development cycle went and things like that. But yeah, I like when companies do release betas. I remember in college, I always play like all the Halo ones. Even when I played Call of Duty a lot back in the day, like when they had those betas that come out, and like I said, it was actually true beta. They came out with the beta, and then months later, it was like the game. But now, yeah, it's definitely, let's just release the game, and pretty much first 3 months,
that's the beta.
Stabilize this, and especially with early access.
Right.
That was going to be my next point. Yeah. Early access now, you're paying, in some cases $30.
It's interesting. I can't hate on it because look, if people like it, they pay for it, and that's what they want. I personally couldn't do that as either the developer or the consumer. But yeah, early access, whether we like it or not, is a very successful approach that is it doesn't look like it's going away anytime soon.
Yeah, I think my problem with early access, specifically when it comes to indies that I know, is I feel like a lot of indies right now use early access rather than being as a means to test their game and find out how it's doing. They use it as a means of, I need money right now really quick, so let me put my game in early access, then I'll use that funding to make the game that I want. And it almost never even works out that way. And then what that ends up doing, in my opinion, is honestly it hurts the entire industry, especially for indies. Like our biggest thing is our credibility. So what I've seen a lot in the early access world, not to say that some people are doing it right. So I don't want people to like come in and be like, oh, like I'm doing that. Like there are people who do it right, but what I've seen from a lot of people using it irresponsibly is, in my opinion, it hurts a lot of people in the industry on the development.
How does expound a little bit on how it hurts? Like how would it specifically be if it keeps trending in this direction? How specifically does it hurt the industry?
Yeah, I mean, as indies, first of all, you know, when we do compete against AAAs, the one thing that we're always competing against are indies are, you know, lower quality games. They're not always polished. They may not always finish their games. So I think anytime that we have an indie that like has a complete finished game that, you know, feels like a polished end-to-end game, that's a huge win for us. And the more and more that we, you know, indies are always related to, you know, either buggy or incomplete or, you know, unpolished, I feel like that has a negative light on us as an industry, because as soon as someone hears, oh, it's an indie show, right? Oh, there's going to be games that aren't that great, aren't finished, which isn't the case. Like there's a lot of really, really good indie games out there. In my opinion, when you start seeing these things that are unpolished games that are out there just to make money, I personally feel like it gives the indies that are doing it the right way a bad image.
Yeah, indie doesn't mean amateur.
Oh, it doesn't mean,
you know, you could be professional.
Exactly. It's just this. It has to do with the structure of the studio that you work with. But there are indie guys who have worked at AAA for years and years, right? So there are professional indies, there's amateur indies, the same way that there are high quality AAA companies and low quality AAA companies.
I battle with the word indie. We battle ourselves with the word indie quite a bit, and because as you said, it's like, what is indie today? And I'd even ask you guys, it's like, what do you guys think? So this is something that always is changing. Some people really think indie is, well, it's some pixelated game or something, or indie, like I said, is low quality, low budget, or just short, or like
independently funded. I mean, that's really what it means.
Exactly. And that's the thing. There's some independent games that are, you know, massive. Like, and it's not just about whether it needs to be low quality or high quality. And that was the thing we always felt is when we were doing Decoy Games, it's like we kind of want to create our own image what indie is. And to be honest, a lot of times people don't think we're indie. They always say we have a publisher or some bigger company or whatever, just because we like to present ourselves, you know, with quality, to be honest. And we do get some pushback on that, but that's fine for us. Like we feel like being indie doesn't mean you have to be low quality or some type of way. We're always doing the struggle. I think some people like to say indie is like the struggle, and I think they're getting too involved in wanting to go through the struggle or wanting to have the struggle be like the highlight of them being indie. And it's not that. It's just, it really simply is having independence on the direction you're taking your product. And that can be whatever level you want it to be, whether it's small or large. And that's what the great thing about being indie.
I think for me, indie is more about, I think the word passion comes to mind almost immediately, because, you know, most AAA games have huge money backing them, and it's easy to produce like an Anthem or a Fallout 76 that is just bug riddled and not really up to the par of most games. But as an indie developer, you have to be driven to make your product.
And I'm going to take a unique stance on that, and I'm going to stand up for the AAA guys. And I think on the flip side, I think a lot of times AAA guys kind of get a lot of flack, but there are a lot of AAA guys who have a ton of passion and are really engaged.
Oh, they do, for sure. Oh yeah.
And I feel like across the industry, right? You have passion, just like any organization. Right? You're going to have passionate guys. You're going to have people who don't care for their job at all, and it shows in their work. And I hate having like a blanket statement over any area of the industry, right? I would hate to have like the blanket statement of cheap over my industry, right? Like these guys who make indies are like cheap. They're low quality. They're unpolished. They're amateur. You know, like they need to try to get to the AAA level. And like a lot of these guys are at AAA level. So that's kind of a stigma that we're always trying to fight a bit. And I even tell a lot of indies a lot of times too, is like, hey guys, like don't hate on AAAs all the time, because we need them just as much as they need us, right? Like as much as we need a Grand Theft Auto, a Halo, some of these bigger studios to keep the high level energy going. They need us as well to keep, volumes of games coming out on games throughout on consoles and PC throughout the year, keeping the energy going, keeping people always having something to play. So in a lot of ways, as much as people try to pit indie against AAA, we rely on each other more than people know.
They got to coexist, because I can't imagine a world with a Red Dead 2, and then I can't have my Untitled Goose Game.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, man.
It's got to be how that's how it has to be.
Yep,
The AAA games sell the consoles, and the indie games keep the consoles on.
Exactly.
In my opinion, that's how it was for me with Switch. Forget it. Like, what did we buy that for? Oh, yeah, we bought it for the next Pokemon. We bought it for Zelda. We bought it for Mario. We bought it for Smash Bros. We bought it for Mario Kart.
Yep.
But as Andy and I had just recorded our nominees for our Nintendo NDS Podcast Awards and stuff like that, like, I played over 40 indie games, pretty extensively, like, to cover for the show, and it's probably more if you include the games I put on for like an hour and was like, oh yeah, that's fine, or that sucked, or whatever. It could easily be double that.
Right.
And that's just on my Switch. That's not to mention the ones that I only got for Steam or for PS4 or whatever, because for some reason Switch codes are like gold. They're just they're like unobtainium in the code world. But yeah, like, if you look at it like that, maybe a better word aside from indie game or indie studio, maybe you look at it almost like small businesses.
Right. Yeah.
Where
Exactly.
you know what I mean? Like, you look at, okay, there's a small business, mom and pop shop down the block that is a pharmacy or whatever, and then right across the street is Walgreens. But you know what? Some people may not be able to, or they want to support the little guy or whatever it is. So maybe that's one way to look at it.
I mean, it's like a small business restaurant, right? You don't go to a small business restaurant and be like, oh, I don't mind if the food's crappy. No, you're still going there for like really good food, right? So,
right.
Either way, as a gamer or consumer, you're still looking for quality. And any time that, for example, like a small business restaurant starts selling really crappy food, that makes all the other small business restaurants look suspect.
Right. And now, if you're not indie and you're in AAA, yeah, you're going to have definitely influencers that are kind of have more control over the product. And typically those people are, for one, very business minded for probably good reasons, because they know how to bring the money. And just like in like the music industry, if you're comparing, someone on a big label versus someone who's like on an independent label, that big label will probably push you to probably conforming in some things that they are comfortable with, in the sense that they know that will bring sales. So yeah, you're going to see some of that in the AAA. And then also with the independent labels or independent games, yeah, it's basically that person has more choice over what it will be, but what the end result can be very much the same as a AAA or different. It's just the fact that person themselves has that choice for better or worse of what they'll come out with.
So, just to wrap this indie talk, I want to take you guys back in time for a quick second. Given the Nintendo roots of your past and the inspiration for your Mario Octopus game back in the day that kind of begat Swimsanity what it is today, let's go back to March 21st, when you guys became Nintendo official during the Nintendo Nindy Showcase. What did that feel like for you guys?
The crazy thing is, like, one thing we learned is a lot of this stuff takes a lot of time. That was like 8 months in the making.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It really was. Like, it started back at in Harlem, at Game Does the Color, and we met a tester at Nintendo, and he came and saw our game, and I didn't even know he was from Nintendo, even though he had a Mario shirt on. I don't know how I didn't know. We were just talking for like a half hour, and he was just like, he's like, so just take my card, and he walked away, and I like turned it over as Nintendo. I was like, whoa, come back here. Like, I asked him, I was like, we really want to get on Nintendo Switch. Like, we had PS4 and Xbox at that point. And he was like, okay, let me introduce you to somebody. And we met someone at Nintendo, and it was just a lot of just kind of pushing them and showing them like, hey, man, we really want to be on this platform. Give us a dev kit. And we like pushed to get our stuff on the dev kit. we were like following them. Like if they were at like a Unity conference, like we traveled there. If they were at like a developer conference, like we went there, it was close. Like we just kept following, giving them updates.
Oh my God.
And then at that point, it was like they said we made good relationships, and they were saying like, there might be this thing that you guys can get on, but let's see what if we kind of work together to see what we can give them and show how close our game is. And we just kept really pushing, and as that kind of came there, and it's cool because they're so working with Nintendo, you could just tell why they're Nintendo. They're so good at their marketing. And that one just landed so well. We were so blessed to get in that one. If you follow all the Nindy showcases, still to this day, there hasn't been one as big as that one. Like that one still has like 1.5 million views on YouTube, and it just like skyrocketed. And it just was awesome to be part of that when it happened. But it was unreal, man. And also at that time too, we actually were able to get into like this media event that only had like 9 other games there. And that was kind of when we looked around and we kind of saw like we were stepping into the publisher area in the sense of that tier, because when we look around, all the games were either like published by Devolver, like Team 17. There was the Stranger Things game was next to us, and then it was like Cuphead. And it was just this room with us, and it was like us and media. And it was just like kind of look at my brother. I'm like, dude, look around. Like this is the group we're in now. Like these are our competitors. These are our peers. Like we gotta shoot for being like them. If Nintendo can see us like that, then that's what we got to push ourselves to be. So it's kind of cool to be able to go through that whole experience and kind of shoot for that.
Were you nervous about like where the game was when they said, hey, show us what you got at whatever, maybe they picked a date out of the air, or like by here, show us what you have? Were there things did you like have any panic moments or anything like that? What was that process like?
It actually wasn't too bad. Like we were really pushed ourselves, and we wanted to actually kind of go ahead on it. The big one was at the Unity. Where was the Unity that year? Was it LA or was it
LA?
I think it was LA. And that was like the moment I feel like it kind of just hit them, where they're like, all right, these guys, they might be a little crazy, but we asked them for a build near the end of the year, and they just came to us with a build working on Switch and having like it work on all Switch controls and motion.
But he's not really. So basically, what happened is that if anyone doesn't know, Unity Unite is a Unity development conference where basically a bunch of developers go to network and their showcases and stuff like that. And Nintendo had a booth there, and we literally walked into their booth with a build of our game on the Switch, and we're like, play it.
Yeah, we're like, dude, play this.
Yes, play this game. So They started playing it. And people from around were like gathering around, like, oh, what's this new Switch game? Da, da, da. So then now you have a bunch of Nintendo representatives watching people watch the game, and they can kind of see the excitement around it, right? And I thought that was like the moment for us that really flipped around the support. And like I kind of say to a lot of indies is, development is a key thing as far as making your game, but networking is like the next big thing. So, and it's hard to do that from behind your computer. And sometimes you got to get out in public and, take look, we could have shown them the game. They could have been like, this is trash, get out of our booth. But you got to take that risk. And I don't think we've ever been nervous about our product. We've definitely been like anxious because of deadlines and stuff. So, but I think confidence has always been key for us.
Yeah, I think they saw that how much we invest in our own game, and we're investing in just showing them. I do think that played a part. Like, I do think they liked the game, but I think our passion and showing that and getting the networking really, really helped push us. Because, like I said, you aim for something, you got to know who your competitors were at that point. Like, if we wanted to get, on something like the Ninja Showcase, we're like, these guys are sharp, man. Like, these are people, they all made game before, or they've been published by somebody. If we're going to compete with them, we have to take it a step further to really get to know these people and show them like we're on the same level. So that it was exciting. We're never really too nervous. It was just really anxious to prove to them that we're capable.
I think they just want to stop the stalking, to be honest. It's those guys again.
Man.
It's for our health, guys. It's for our health. Let them play the game.
So
what are your goals? Like, what do you want to see Swimsanity do? Just not even from a studio, business standpoint, money wise. What do you guys as brothers who created this thing? What do you want to see
I want to
Swimsanity achieve?
I want to see like a healthy, consistent community of people enjoying our game online, where we can like keep providing them a bunch of content to what we consider to be a really cool game. We want that same energy that we have at shows to translate to, the online game for, people who haven't been able to attend the shows and play. So whatever we can do to bring that same energy that we've had consistently at shows to like just general day-to-day gaming, I want to be able to, I fully plan on playing the game just like I play a bunch of other games. And I want to be able to log on and, be able to play with different gamers and stuff around the world. I want to lose to people who've gotten better at the game than I have. I want to, try to compete with the leader. I want to see a healthy gaming community, and we can take it from there after that.
Yeah, in 2020, we have some pretty cool opportunities that I can't speak of at the moment that are going to be regarding with Swimsanity that we really feel will kind of just innovate on this genre and what you can do with this game. So we really wanted to, make something that will evolve over time, but something, as you said, has a consistent community and kind of show what the hard work we could put into. And as we talked about games that are come out that have early access, I think the thing with Swimsanity you'll see is once it drops, like that day, the day one content you get with Swimsanity is, I don't think it's something you see a lot in today's game for the price that it's at. I really think the content that's there is something you see more like in old school games like Perfect Dark and N64, like the amount of game modes, amount of things you can do. It's just, we want to have something that kind of sets the standard of what you would get at that price point.
Andy, final question before we get into rapid fire.
My balls are so blue right now. I have no idea. I need this game like as soon as possible. Like I'm itching for the event that's coming up this weekend, you guys, for your little preview event at the Microsoft building.
Man.
That is going to be. I'll get my fix then, but I will see you guys there.
Absolutely, can't wait.
All right. Before we get into rapid fire questions, let's tell you a little bit about our sponsor, meltedpins.com. Artist Kelsey Lynn Lewis has done art for many different websites and podcasts, and everything's hand drawn and it's awesome. And Melted Pins is Kelsey Lynn's website, where she makes tattoo art inspired pins, buttons, canvas bags, t-shirts, mugs, all sorts of fun stuff. And you know what? It is the holiday season, so don't be an idiot. Buy a gift for somebody. Go to meltedpins.com, and if you use the promo code, the little checkout code, use that checkout code NDSmelted, you'll get 10% off of your purchase. That's right. You go to meltedpins.com, code NDSmelted, and you will get 10% off of your purchase. It's a no-brainer, okay? It's really great. This is a local artist. This is a small artist speaking of indie, this is as indie as indie gets. Support your small businesses and small artists. Meltedpins.com, NDS Melted, 10% off, and you can follow Melted Pins at Melted Pins. That's at Melted Pins. All right, so let's get into our rapid fire section here, which is fairly new to this fairly young show, but it shall be fun nonetheless. So let's start off easy. Gentlemen, pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Burger King or McDonald's?
McDonald's.
If I had to, not big on fast food, but McDonald's.
The milkshakes are just better.
Who's smarter?
And what?
In general.
We range from like smart to dumb really quick, depending on what you're talking about.
Together,
Question asked, question answered.
Yeah. Individually, if you can like get the weak one off in the corner, yeah, you can break us down pretty bad. So
yeah, that's like our kryptonite. Don't separate us.
Who would win it in a Greco-Roman wrestling match?
I think I would.
Nah. I win that.
Describe each other in 3 words.
Like separate words? That wasn't my 3 words.
Yeah, that would be.
All right, I got you.
There's the dumb moment right there.
So you're done.
So I'm smarter, clearly.
No, I got you. Ambitious, Confident, and tired. He's tired right now. So
yeah. Let's see. Definitely focused. Passionate. And hardworking.
that's 4.
No, hardworking dash.
Hyphenated word. It's perfect. Sega or Nintendo?
Pass.
It depends. Well, I mean, certain games, yeah. I don't know. It's pass. I agree. Conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Where would you go if you were invisible?
To sleep? No, I'm just playing. Where would I go if I was invisible? Man. Like, if I had the power to change something too?
No, no one can see you. So where would you go?
Not only undetectable by eyeballs, but also like radar and like stupid shit like that.
Yes.
Like you can go anywhere.
The thing is, like, I'm such like a shameless person that I would just be like, turn off my invisibility and do it anyway.
Yeah, I was about to say, we go wherever.
Or would you do it and then turn it off?
Invisibility's not stopping us.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think invisible.
My answer is Area 51, hands down. I want to see those fucking aliens, dude. I want to see them. I want to look at them. I want to poke them.
Don't you want them to see you, though?
Yeah, I'm going to go.
I want them to see me. I want them to get back to their planet and talk about me the way I'm going to talk about them and my planet.
Let me show you Swimsanity.
Yeah.
If you
Found from sanity.
if you opened up a fortune cookie, what would it say?
Stop eating carbs.
Heard that.
Why are you eating this? Give one to your brother.
Stop chewing. Spit it out.
Game journalist,
Run more.
game journalist, or Twitch streamer?
Ooh.
Game journalist. That's that.
Fascinating.
I'm going to go.
PlayStation or Xbox?
Is this playing?
Sorry. Just whatever. Interpret it how you will.
All right. I'm gonna
Xbox controller,
Yeah.
PlayStation exclusives.
That's a good answer.
It's a smart answer is what it is.
I'm gonna say Xbox experience because they have the whole entertainment.
Dude,
experience.
Xbox Game Pass right now,
Yeah.
man. Underrated service, and I think they're setting a standard. Just want to throw it out there.
Yeah. Is cereal a soup?
No,
No, and I love cereal, so I'm very
soup's got to be cold.
don't
Has to be
diss
hot.
cereal. Yeah.
Does it? Does it have to be hot?
100%.
Soup?
Because there are cold soups
No,
out there.
that doesn't even make
That's-
sense. I
that's
never even
lazy.
heard those
Yeah.
two words in the same sentence before.
I'm gonna look it up because
No.
it's a very specific.
Gazpacho? Is that what you're talking about?
What?
Gazpacho?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a cold tomato sludge.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
honestly, that's just a cook who like forgot to warm up the soup one day, and he's like, "Oh, that's how it's
Yeah, it's
supposed
like,
to
oh
be."
yeah, that's supposed to be. I totally meant that. It's been sitting on for a week. Dogs or
Let's
cats?
do like 5 more.
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
dogs
Dogs,
or
or cats?
Cats.
What was the question?
Dogs or cats?
Neither. They belong in the jungle. Just kidding. I'm not a pet person. I can't stand pets. I don't know.
Favorite genre of music?
90s R&B.
Hip hop.
Morning, noon, or night?
Night.
Morning.
Is M. Night Shyamalan just misunderstood?
Nah, he just needs to wrap things up the right way. Like he has these great stories, and it's like he dead ends himself, and then disappointment sometimes. But he's a talented dude.
I think pretty understood. I mean, it's not that you know what you're gonna get with them. So no, I don't think he's misunderstood.
All right, Andy, you want to wrap it up with your last question from last time?
Let's. Oh no. Oh yeah, we might as well.
Mhm.
Steven or Andy?
Steven who?
Me or him?
Oh man.
Now, full disclosure, I am, I just, took off my button down. I'm not looking too hot right now,
That's fair.
but you can see me.
True. And Andy went invisible.
You
To
did.
stick
Right,
with the theme.
So
Your tree's off,
there's an air of mystery about me. So put that into consideration.
Also, this doesn't have to be sexual in any way.
Oh, my follow-up was sub or dom.
We wanted to be Yeah, we just went through this whole thing of trust, and we're not about breaking trust.
That's
so
right.
we're gonna go Steven and Andy. So
Oh, you
Good
guys.
you can't have one without the other.
But
It's very true.
I love how you guys talked about trust for a long time. Then you just built a 3-person team. You trusted only one more person.
Hey, that's all the trust we need.
That's all you need.
Baby steps, Andy. Baby steps.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Let's do the thing. Let's do it.
That brings us up to the very end of this podcast. We made it to the very end. Thank you so much for listening, listeners. If you want to follow us on social media, you could do so. We are at NDS Podcast. I am at BadChild27. Andy is at PantsGuy. Gentlemen, where can everybody find you?
You can find us Decoy Games on Twitter, Facebook, Decoy Games Official on Instagram. We also have a Discord. Just search Swimsanity. We got an awesome community up there where we talk about Swimsanity, Decoy Games, anything in general, advice for indies. Just follow us up there for any upcoming events. And we're pretty available. So
Come out this Saturday.
Yeah, big event this Saturday. It's our big launch event at the flagship Microsoft store. We're going to have 10 high-powered computer stations and also 4 local play Xbox stations. And then for anybody who's around tomorrow night at Wonderville, we're going to have a kind of cool event with a live DJ and some Swimsanity playing over there as well, where we get to kind of, meet the people who support us. We really are excited about this launch. And we're not just excited about their game. We've met a lot of people over the last 2 years. So we want to be able to celebrate our accomplishment by hanging out with the people who supported us. So please, if you can, come out, join us, have a good time.
All right, awesome. Remember, folks, you can join our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/dualscreenpodcast. You can follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/dualscreenstreams. Thank you, Andrew Douglas, for all of our podcast art. Thank you, Matt Murray, for our logo. And the theme song, Retro Chatter, is by Bradley Parsons at Train Sound Studio. Remember, you could support us at patreon.com/NDS podcast, and you could buy our merchandise at teespring.com. Just search for Dual Screens Shop. That's it. This has been yet another exciting installment of the Dual Screens podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Andy, is there anything you want to tell the listeners before we leave?
2 things. First, I'm going to go walk my dog, who belongs in the jungle, apparently. And secondly, stay tuned for next week's guest. We're having on the folks over at Liquid Bit to talk about Killer Queen Black. Again, another fun local multiplayer, make your friends hate you game. So it's a thing that we do. This is it. We're locked into this forever and ever. It's not going to go away.
Forever. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Khalil. Thank you, Ahmed. Until next time, take care. And as always, please be excellent to each other.